Hello, beautiful people. In this training today, I'm going to talk all about shoulder injuries. Now, in my face-to-face practice and also in my online programs, I hear the most people complain about either achy shoulders, injuries to the muscles, the small stabilizing muscles, the rotator cuff, the ligaments, tendons, and sometimes the actual shoulder joint. I've just had a client this morning who told me that her mother had double shoulder replacements. Quite unusual. So shoulder is literally one of the joints that gets most injured. And today I'm going to talk about 3 easy steps on how to prevent shoulder injuries. Whether you are a super active person, somebody, for example, like a surfer or a swimmer, who is significantly relying on the shoulder strength and the shoulder performance for their sport, or whether you are just a person who maybe goes to the gym time to time or does some body weight workouts. Maybe you're in my world and you do some of body weight training sessions with me, or if you don't really engage in any exercise, but obviously everybody uses their arms and their shoulders, whether that's taking a pot off the stove, picking up groceries, picking up children, or pretty much any task you do in your ordinary or extraordinary, I should say, life. So shoulder joint, let's just run through a quick anatomy of the shoulder joint. Shoulder joint is a very shallow joint. So unlike a hip joint, which is quite enclosed, the shoulder joint is shallow. The reason for that being that it's shallow because it allows us this incredible range of motion. You cannot do that with your hip. But with that comes a whole bunch of issues. We don't really know, people don't really know how to engage all the big surrounding muscles to protect the shoulder joint. So Mother Nature is very clever. And while evolving our miraculous human bodies, gave us muscles that protect the shoulder joint from injury and dislocation. The one primary muscle with this function is the latissimus dorsi, also called the lat for short. And I'm going to be referring to this muscle a lot in this training as the lat. The lat is known as a massive back muscle. Yeah, so it covers, it's an enormous powerhouse. It's what we call the primary mover, and it covers the whole of your back. But although being a back muscle, it's actually a chest muscle because it starts in your chest. So it starts here, it wraps over the shoulder, protecting it, and then it continues and covers most of your back. Knowing how to engage the lat while you're using your arms for anything is absolutely vital in preventing aches, pains, and eventually injuries. But I'm going to backtrack a little bit and I'm going to talk about the 3 main reasons for shoulder injuries and shoulder issues in general. One is lack of mobility. Yeah. So you can test your mobility just by simply raising your shoulders above your head. And while you're engaging the glutes and slightly tilting the pelvis, engaging the lats, the abs, you should be able to lift your shoulders directly overhead, not by overarching the lower back and borrowing the mobility from here, but while having a perfect posture, you should be able to pop your shoulders directly above. You can also try this lying down. So without arching your back, you can actually lie down and see if your arms will touch, if your hands will touch the ground behind you. If you don't have this perfect range of motion, because there's some restriction happening around the shoulder joint, that is going to cause you massive issues. Why? If you go to the gym and you try to lift something overhead, instead of lifting it overhead perfectly here, now the weight is being transferred through my skeletal system, and it's not loading the shoulder muscles too much. If I don't have perfect range of motion, I'm going to be somewhere here, and now I'm loading the small muscles in the shoulder. Okay, so number one, lack of mobility. If you need more mobility, I have tons and tons of free training on shoulder mobility. So just get in touch and I will send it to you. You can start working on it. You will notice a massive difference within a week or two. I have had clients who had frozen shoulders and they were able to get significant amount more mobility in them within 3 weeks. So it's phenomenal how quickly mobility training works. So that's number one reason is mobility. Number two reason is lack of strength and stability. Obviously, if you turn up to your first CrossFit class and they give you an 8 kilo kettlebell and they tell you do 50 overhead presses, you're gonna get hurt. It's inevitable, okay? Because you have exceeded the load and the capability of your body to be able to perform the task. So you need to work, especially as a woman, if you are a woman watching, you need to work consistently and comprehensively on your upper body strength. We have roughly about 40% less strength in our upper bodies than men do. That's just our physiological quirk, I would say, or like that's just our physiology. We have a lot more strength in the hips and in the legs. So as a woman, don't end up being a frail woman as you are aging. Work on your upper body strength. Not only will give you a lovely toned arms, but from functional perspective, it's tragic once you lose all strength in your upper body, because they will just lead to injuries. On average, I think I read a statistic that by the age of 65, an average woman cannot lift a 10-pound bag. That's 5 kilos. That's an average shopping bag, and that's tragic. So cultivate your strength and the stability in the shoulder. And the third reason is poor biomechanics. Too often I would see people moving objects or weights in the gym, and instead of creating a perfect biomechanics where I'm engaging the whole body, the lats and everything, all the supporting muscles to protect the shoulder joint, I see this. I also see a lot of in the row patterns. What people are doing are kind of these things, yeah, or protracting and retracting the shoulder joint, yeah. So these are people that don't understand the correct biomechanics, which I'm going to teach you today. So that is the point that we're going to focus on the most today, is the biomechanics of the optimal biomechanics of using the shoulder joint. Number one, mobility. I'm not going to run through that because I have tons of training on mobility, and you can have a look at the mobility challenges and access that from that. Strength and stability, if you want to cultivate that with me, I have a range of upper body program, or currently I'm running a bodyweight series in my Facebook group. I have a specific training for upper body strength with some awesome bodyweight movements, 10 minutes, that's all it is. If you do that 2-3 times a week, you will get strength very quickly. So today what I'm going to concentrate on is the mindful and optimal biomechanics of using the shoulder. And we're going to cover how to do a shoulder pack. So even when you are just standing, where I see most people standing is here. Yeah, it's our modern lifestyle. It's too much of this, and not enough exercise and stretching and mobility work. So if you find yourself that your posture is less than optimal and you tend to fall into this kind of rounding posture with the neck being forward, I urge you to remember on a daily, every time you're standing and you become conscious of this posture, what I want you to do is I want you to engage the glute. So see how I'm mildly tucking my tailbone under. So then I'm squeezing my glutes about 30%. So I don't want you to go fully, Okay, because that's exhausting, and we only do that when we are lifting and pressing heavy objects or doing things like press-ups and squats and when we're exercising. So about just a mild engagement, about 30%. Then I want you to engage your abs. And then what I want you to do, I want you to slightly lift the shoulders and put them back and compress them down. Yeah, I'm not talking about this. Yeah, I'm just talking about just a mild compression downwards. So think about your shoulder blades slightly compressing, or you pushing them down towards your hips. So you're here. As soon as you do this, you should feel a mild tension somewhere here. And that is the one most obvious sign that you have engaged your lats. And that means that your shoulder joint is now protected from injury, dislocation, and any of the aches, pains, and twinges and fraying of the ligaments in the shoulder. I'm going to just run you through this static engagement, and then I'm going to demonstrate it in different movements, different movement patterns, and then maybe cover a bit of surfing, swimming, because those are kind of the really shoulder dominant sports, and maybe some swinging as well, if I've got any golfers or cricketers in the group who are watching. Okay, so let's run through this together. You are going to mildly lift and then compress down. As you compress down, you need to be able to feel the tension happening down in the back. If you're struggling with that, what you can also do is to tuck your elbows in and slightly rotate the forearms outwards while you're compressing the shoulder blades down. And you can just run through these just as a bit of an activation before you go to the gym, you work out, you do your sport. If you're doing some, workouts at home, just body weight. Just become aware, am I able to generate the tension in my back? And that is the tension that you need to experience every single time you're involving the shoulder joint in any movement, okay? I'm going to go into maybe some horizontal press. Yeah, so pressing in front of you, which is a task that we do every time you pass something to another person. You are essentially doing that. And it doesn't really matter how heavy it is. It's about mechanics and doing it right, okay? So it could be a child, it could be a pot of something, or a bag, or anything, okay? So there is the horizontal press. We're going to run through an overhead press as well. We're going to run through a bit of a rowing pattern, how to generate that. And then I think we'll just start with that, okay? So horizontal pressing. I'm going to use a club bell. You can use anything you have at home. You can use even a wooden stick, okay? Just to generate the feeling in the lats. So what I'm going to do, every time you use the upper body, you need to stabilize the core. Your core is made out of all the muscles minus the arms and the legs. So the three massive primary movers in your core are the glutes, the abs, and the lat. Yeah? And the core muscles, their main function is to protect your spine. Yeah? The spine is really important. So where we're going to go with the forward pressing, I'm just going to press forward or even slightly down. Okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to squeeze my glutes. I'm going to compress the abs, which is essentially fanning the top rib towards the pubic bone, so like a fan. And then I'm going to generate that compression in the lat. I need to feel tension in the lat before I commence the movement. Yes, I need to set myself up. No point just launching yourself into it. You need to set up for it and visualize it. And then visualize that you are moving the object with your back muscles, with your lats. So tune in, hook the lats into the movement, and then with an exhale, go forward. wooden stick is enough. You will be still able to generate the feeling, so you can simulate it in whatever movement you're doing it. What is quite nice also is to turn your grip, and then what you're pretending to do, you're bending the object you are holding, yeah? And you are going to be pretending you're bending it downwards, because as soon as you do that, the back will engage, yeah? So if you want to just try pushing also with the over grip, you can go and then pretend you bending the club bell or the wooden stick or anything you have, and try this exercise with me. You can just grab your broomstick if you have one at home, or anything that you have, and then try how you do that. Things to watch out for is protraction and retraction of the shoulder. Yeah, this. Now I'm pressing predominantly just with the tiny muscles around the shoulder. So deltoid, the shoulder muscle, is very small, doesn't last very long. It gets exhausted quite quickly, so you really want to engage the back muscles. It will allow you a lot more strength and performance. You're also going to be loading the small stabilizing muscles, the rotator cuff, and ligaments and tendons as well. Yeah, so look out for this. Your shoulder doesn't move in presses. The shoulder is in one place, firmly engaged. All I'm moving is my arm, so you can try this way as well. Yeah, so I'm not going here, collapsing the structure. I'm going to engage everything and then go forward. I'm going to show you some movements, body weight as well. So the setup for like a press up and things like that, push up. Yeah. So that is a vertical press. You can have a look at yourself in the mirror and see what's happening in the shoulder joint. Are you able to lock in? Are you able to feel the ledge the whole time you're moving the object forward and backwards? In terms of overhead press, what I see people doing when they overhead pressing is this. This is a really destabilized shoulder joint, and it's tragic, and this is where most people who go to the gym will get injured, yeah? Because what you need to understand, that when you pressing something up overhead, you need to be pushing the shoulder blade down. So in a way, you're creating opposing forces. The shoulder blade and the shoulder is going down while the arm is going up. And this is really good to practice one arm at a time without any weight. So engage everything again, glutes, abs, because the serratus, which is the muscle here, which men often have, some men have often kind of beautifully defined, that is a really amazing stabilizing muscle for the shoulder blades and the shoulder as well. So compressing this whole shoulder down, you should feel a bit of tension here and a whole lot of tension here. So go from here and then see if you can maintain the gap between the arm and the ear. Yeah. So I'm not going to go here. I'm going to set up. I'm going to go very slow, push the shoulders down. Look at the difference. This is where you need to be pressing overhead rather than here. And that's what I see a lot from people in gyms. Yeah. So if you are, I had one client, my Facebook group, who said probably overdid it with kettlebells a little bit and injured her shoulder. Yeah. So where I see a lot of people pressing is here. What you actually need to concentrate on is pressing here. I can feel the tension. I'm pressing from my back. I feel the loading on my abdominal wall and on my back as well. Okay. If you're doing double overhead pressing, the same. What helps here, if you're pressing a barbell overhead, is to pretend you are again bending the bar. Yeah. So bending, engaging, and then you here rather than here. Okay. Because I'm creating that firm compression down. So this is a vertical press, horizontal press, okay? So what do you do if you are on the ground? So I'm going to slightly lower the screen. Okay, so let's run through this setup. If you may be doing push-ups or some other movements on the ground, and then I'm going to run through how to pedal or swim, how you can engage the legs in a more three-dimensional movement. So this is very two-dimensional. It's either up and down or front to back. Obviously, if you're pedaling or swimming, it's a more three-dimensional movement. So I'm going to run through that. But let's just do the push-up now and how to create this engagement in the lats when you're doing movements like even in yoga, planks, downward dogs, and then obviously push-ups or mountain climbers and movements like that. Because that's where I've been going to boxing classes and I see some hideously destabilized shoulders when people are doing mountain climbers or planks or push-ups and things like that. Just leads to injury. So where are you going to go here? I'm going to go this view first. Most people, when they're doing movements, they again letting the shoulders creep up towards their ears. Where you need to go is you need to screw the shoulders in, the arms in, so your elbow pits are facing forward as much as they can. And as soon as you do this movement, you should feel, again, a lot of tightness and engagement in the lats. Yeah? And then you're just creating a really stable structure here. And everything gets easier. Once you figure out how to do the shoulder peg in like push-ups and planks, you'll notice that you are actually a lot stronger because you will offload a lot of the tension from the small muscles in the shoulders and send it down into the big muscles in the core. So again, screwing it in. And then if I was to go into like a plank, you are very solid here. Yeah. So this is the motion. You're screwing them in and you again feeling the tension in there. When you're doing slightly more dynamic movement, like if you are a surfer and you're pedaling, it's the same. Instead of, so I'm not going to go fully on the ground, but I'm just going to slightly angle myself so I can demonstrate it better. Again, it's the same as if you were pressing overhead. You're not going to go here and then really destabilize the shoulder. You need to compress down, engage the lats, engage the top abs, especially, super helpful. And then instead of reaching out too far, don't. If you reach too far, you're going to poke the shoulder out again, the same motion as this. You want to be here. Okay? For that, what helps is slight bend. So you're going to go down, and then as you going through the motion of either swimming or surfing, again, it's all about the lat compression there. And you can just practice it, okay? So if you don't feel any tension down here while you're moving your arms, then you're just loading your shoulders. And let me tell you that once you learn how to engage the whole back muscles and the core and the abs in your shoulder movements, your performance is going to go up. You're going to be so much stronger, and obviously you're not going to get injured, okay? I'm going to run through a row as well, because those are the movements where people often will injure themselves too. So I'm just going to do a simple kettlebell row. Obviously, whatever rowing, whether you've got a rowing machine or any type of rowing that you do in your fitness regime or health exercise regime, yeah, it will be the same mechanics. Again, I'm not going to leave my shoulder all hanging in there. I'm going to engage it. I'm going to tighten the front as well. I'm going to tighten the glute. From here, I'm going to go grab my kettlebell, pack it, make sure that it's packed. I'm rowing. Note, my shoulder doesn't move. All rowing patterns are patterns for the back, for the muscles in your back. So obviously the shoulder joint, shoulder muscles are helping, but they are not the main movers. What I see a lot is people retracting, protracting the shoulder, or even helping themselves with some twists, okay? Where you need to go is to pec, compress the leg, and then visualize how you're moving the object, whatever it is, dumbbell, kettlebell, rowing machine, anything, cable machine, you are loading the back muscles, okay? So I'm just going to run quickly through the main reasons and everything that we talked about. 3 reasons for shoulder injuries. Lack of mobility, super easy to fix. It will take you 3 weeks to notice significant change in your shoulder mobility. Lack of strength and stability, you need to cultivate the strength in your upper body, which means the whole arms, the back, the chest, and the abdominal wall as well. The 3rd reason, which is the one that we really picked apart here today, is biomechanics. So optimal biomechanics for human movement, which will prevent injuries, aches, pains, a lot of surgeries. I have an incredible amount of surfers in my world, and so many of them are getting cortisone injections, ligament repair, and all sorts of things. And then there is also people who do not move their shoulders enough, and then they end up with frozen shoulder. So once you get a frozen shoulder, this is your range of motion usually, wicked amount of pain, and can be fixed though. It can be fixed, but let's not get to those situations because we haven't looked after our shoulders enough. Now we ran through how to engage the lat, which is actually a chest muscle, although it covers most of our back, to prevent, to stabilize the shoulder. Yeah, it's called a shoulder pec. And we even ran through how to just do it while you're waiting somewhere or you're in the supermarket queue. You can practice this over and over. You can get some bands. You can just do it body weight. Yeah? Just constantly reminding your body every time I'm using my arms and my shoulders, you need to engage the lats and the abs so I don't get injured and I don't get painful, achy shoulders. We ran through how to do it in horizontal press, how to do it in overhead press, and how to practice just with a simple wooden stick. So I want you from now on to be extremely mindful of how you're using your body. And every time, whether it's picking things up off the floor, picking up your child, or grabbing a whole bunch of books and putting them up on the shelf, think about how are you setting your body up for performing that movement. We're not going to just chuck it in there and then go like, damn. Okay, we're going to really stabilize, pick up our things. It's all in the back. Pick it up and then put it somewhere. And you can practice. Grab Family Bible or, Grey's Anatomy book, a whole stack of books and practice. How does it feel if I'm just holding it and I want to lift it? Or how does it feel when I want to pass it to someone or when I put it up on some shelf? Practice, but be mindful. It's that kind of mindless, pressing or checking things and working at the gym and I've got 12 reps, but by rep 8, it's all falling apart. And then the last 3 reps are just gonna injure your shoulder. So hear my voice in your head. Every time you're standing and you find yourself standing here, pull it in, okay? Open the chest. Lie down on something on the ground, open your chest and compress. Every time you're using your shoulders, compress the shoulder blades down and feel that lovely tightness here. It was all designed by perfect Mother Nature to prevent your shoulder joint. But if you want some more training, just please reach out. Reach out. I've got tons of free resources where you can start. If you need more strength, if you need more mobility, if you need more flexibility or stability in your shoulders, or if you want to delve deeper into the biomechanics and into how you move your body with the most efficiency and economy, then please get in touch. I hope you found this super helpful. And yeah, if you need any help, please do reach out.